Thanks,
We'll
Craig.
now hear from Leschen and Theresa Allery. Leschen graduated from Bond University with a major in finance and accounting. She's worked with KPMG, Deloitte and Crowhorth. She specialises in high net worth clients and SMEs and has a particular interest in, also sits on a number of boards. Theresa, her focus is family businesses and self-managed super funds. She's a chartered accountant. She has a master's in applied taxation and she's a fellow member of the Tax Institute. She is also an authorised representative of the Self-Managed Super Fund Advisors Network. Theresa, I might put the first question to you and then Leschen, if you could expand on it as well. I understand that you've implemented a process in your firm to help your clients through the JobKeeper enrolment. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure, Craig. So I guess this webinar is all about what other businesses are doing to get through this crisis. So one of the things that we're doing, what we found was when the JobKeeper rules first hit, they were quite confusing. The ATO their website was spending a lot of time on the phone to our clients trying to navigate through all of them. Really basic, simple checklists for our clients to help them navigate through the eligibility criteria for JobKeeper. We felt that really streamlined the process and it freed up our time to deal, I guess, a little bit with more the complicated situations. So in streamlining that process, we were able to, it just gave us an opportunity to be able to help our clients faster and be much more timely around it. I guess because in these uncertain times, people just want to know what to do. So those checklists really helped us guide our clients through that.
And look, it's a brand new system and something that I think accountants and bookkeepers were unfamiliar with. Are you able to expand on it just a little bit more about what is the business owner in, how do they go about actually getting that money in their bank accounts?
Sure. So I guess I see JobKeeper, there's two pathways. There's two main pathways for JobKeeper. The first is if you are an employer in a business and you have employees. So there are some criteria you need to meet. You need to be what's called an eligible employer, and you need to have what are called eligible employees. Register, I think you mentioned on the MyGov site, or you can register through your accountant. We can do that for you and enrol you into the JobKeeper payment scheme. The other thing you need to have is you need to be able to show a downturn in your business turnover of 30% or more when compared to a prior period. So, for example, if you're looking at 20, if you can be eligible for the JobKeeper scheme. Once you're in the scheme, we've got these things called JobKeeper fortnights. And what you need to do is you need to ensure that your eligible employees have been paid at least $1,500 a fortnight in order to be able to get the JobKeeper payment. The government, the ATO, is starting to release payments to employers now, and employers are obligated to hand it straight on to their employees. What we've found as well is we've got ongoing reporting requirements. So every month you need to provide projected numbers to the tax about how your business is going, and also to reconfirm your eligible employees. We're finding a lot of businesses are finding it really tough to try and work out what kind of income they might be getting in the next month, because times are so uncertain. A lot are finding that very difficult. It's just a best guess. You're in the scheme. So even if you, for some reason, if you're able to demonstrate at the time of enrolment that your turnover was less than 30%, you're in that scheme, you don't get kicked out of the scheme. The rest is just reporting the ATO, you can see how you're going.
And Leschen, I guess that, once this new accountants and bookkeepers probably knew about as much about the scheme as what we, the end users or the clients, knew. How did you guys cope with that? All of a sudden, having this new scheme thrust upon you and getting inquiries left, right and centre?
It was actually a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, Craig, because we'd just come off Cash Boost and all of those sorts of things, and then straight into JobKeeper, and the legislation was coming, it was coming, and then it was launched, and we had to come to grips with it very, very quickly. So we got together with our team, we developed checklists, and the team, to be honest, were amazing. They took ownership of it. I guess if it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't have been across it so quickly. They took an interest in it, and the team were doing the background work, our calls, and we MailChimp and things like that directly to our clients. So they knew the questions that they had to ask very quickly. So we were able to pivot and get our clients on board really well, I think.
Now, Georgia's just put a photo up there of your team. Looks like quite a large team. How did you guys respond to the pandemic?
I think we learned a lot through the Commonwealth Games. So we were one of the lucky ones. We basically, everyone packed up and worked from home, and we split the team into A and B, so that if they did want to come into the office, because we have quite a young team, they love that connectivity, and I don't think it had quite struck home how bad the pandemic or the virus was. So we split them into A and B, and A was only allowed to go in 1 week, and B was only allowed to go in another week. And there was no cross-contamination. We were obviously able to work from home straight away. We brought in Zoom, which we obviously didn't have or didn't know about during the Commonwealth Games, and that has completely transformed what we've been able to do. We made sure, or we were very aware that the connectivity with our team was really important. So we put in place, we actually meet twice a day, once in the morning as a hello in the sun kind of thing. And then we meet for a workflow meeting for 15 minutes in the afternoon. So we have an agenda to go through. We've managed to get team ownership. So we get one of them to chair the meeting every week, every day for a week, just to really create that employee engagement and maintain it, because I think they're, like I said, they're a young team. So we've got to be versatile and holding one up. So just a little quick, with them winning business, I found it really hard. You know, they pay to move home, pivot. We're all in the clouds. So we were able to pivot very quickly.
Yeah. And Theresa, I might get you to expand on that point, because we touched on that last week with Kieran. And because Kieran from Merthyr Law uses technology very well, and it's something that we as a team in AFAN are going to be taking advantage of. But are you able to expand on that a little bit more about your use of technology during this time?
Yeah, sure, Craig. See, like Leschen said, we've been set up really well. So when we first formed, being a paperless office and being on the cloud was probably at forefront of mind. So everything we've done and all the technology we've implemented has led to that, which is why we were so lucky. You know, I guess so in the cloud, we've got a secure server that we log into, and all our applications that we use on a daily basis for all our team meetings now. We've become really, really good at using that. We had a few hiccups at first, but we've worked out what it all means. And we also now use technology like Microsoft Teams to chat with each other throughout the day. And what we found efficiencies coming through because of that will continue past this pandemic, because it unclogs your inbox. So all of a sudden, all the little team questions that usually hit your inbox are not really in that inbox anymore. So we found some amazing efficiencies out of it, and we continue to review our IT pretty much every year. We've got a really good IT outsourced team that we use, and they help us navigate through all of that. So we can literally just pick up, and that's what we did. So with the pandemic, things were moving so fast. We didn't know whether we'd be in the office the next day or not. So take your laptops home in case we get some sort of government announcement overnight, and you can just start. So it's wonderful because we're so mobile.
Now, I'm cutting with the attendees. A severe reduction continue to rise, put out of work, their businesses are shutting down, which means that a lot of them are struggling to pay their ongoing fees to their advisors. A lot of them are struggling to pay the premiums for their insurances, or the clients stop paying for their insurance contracts. Then the remuneration of the planner or the advisor is once again affected. And the sting in the tail there is, if those programs have been put into place in the last couple of years, often there's a clawback of commissions as well, which is sort of like a double sting. So right now, for our community, cash flow is king. And we really need to keep a close eye on our cash flow. Have you got any tips in regards to, closely monitoring our cash flow?
Yeah, sure, Craig. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Cash flow really is king at the moment. So you can have businesses that are doing well, but they don't have the cash. They're the ones who are really struggling. And this pandemic has really highlighted those struggles. So we've got a tool that we use and that we share with our clients. It's an amazing tool. We use it in our business ourselves, and it has changed the way we do business, absolutely. So it's a 13-week rolling cash flow. It's not a new concept, but it's in its simplicity. It's also, it provides really valuable insights. So what it really is, we're accountants, so we use spreadsheets. It is a spreadsheet, but it's a really cool one. So what it basically does, and I think George is going to share a bit of an example. So really basically what it is, you have a go at projecting 13 weeks out what your income might be. Weeks, because if you can see on the straight highlighted cells, 13 weeks gives someone enough time to be able to, there might be a cash shortage, and there's a number of different techniques you can use. So, for example, if you've got income coming in, as a business owner, can you negotiate new terms to try? Do you have to pay by month? And once you play with the figures, you can actually see those red cells disappear while you manage your cash flow. For the people listening today, you can use it in your own business. You can also use it personally. So yeah, good tool.
On what Theresa was just covering?
I'm on mute.
You're on mute, Leschen.
Sorry. Zoom all across, right? Sorry. So as Theresa was saying, the tool is so simple, but it's actually very powerful. So when you're working through on a weekly basis, you might have rent, for example. It's a prime example. Can it be renegotiated? Because you'll see those red cells light up like red light. They're horrible. And you go straight down, you go rent due. So can you speak to your landlord and get that either reduced? I think the most what we've seen with landlords is you go to them with the same drop. So I think they're deferring, banks are doing that in either of those. And then it's like looking at your subscriptions, looking at, if you're on a monthly or a quarterly subscription, seeing if you can split it out over 2 months or defer it a month. I know it's used for a lot of our dashboarding. They actually allowed us to move some payments back a couple of months. Seek are doing it if you're in touch base only recruiting people, and those fees are big, but they're saying it's fine, just move it out a couple of months. It's well worth speaking to people or suppliers that you don't think will help. What's the harm in asking? The most they can say is no, and then you move on to the next one. And spreading out your payments is a really easy way to ease cash flow issues. The tax office is very open at the moment to payment plans. Know yourself, chat to the tax office. If you're doing it through your tax agent, out 12 months. Once you do it, you do need to meet your ongoing payments now. But what I wouldn't be looking at is reducing your marketing costs. You've got to be out there. You've got to pivot your business. So be careful what you decide to cut. I think it's in our human nature to go marketing, slash it. If it's reasonable, make sure you get your bang for your buck, but look at definitely, I would actually spend a bit more on that. If you can, Zoom's awesome. We're all learning these new webinars, so be clever.
And you touched on the banks there, many planners as loans. How are they helping out during this pandemic?
So the banks are offering to defer payments for 6 months. Just adds on to your capital at the end. But with JobKeeper, for example, the banks are stepping in to say they offer an overdraft facility. Now, these overdraft facilities normally would be 20%, 14%, because they're normally unsecured, whereas now they're offering 6 months, lower interest rate, half that interest rate, so 7-8%. They've really come to the party, mind you, but they're also offering 3 years, saying be very careful about the interest rates are a little bit high. They're 4.5%-ish. They're variable, but the repayments, because the repayment is like $9,000 a month, so be very careful with processing that one.
And Theresa, just sort of expanding on that, is it a fairly simple process to get assistance from the banks, or do you have to jump over a few hurdles?
Yeah, look, Craig, mixed responses. So with the 3-year bank loans Leschen was mentioning, they are backed by government guarantee for eligible small business entities. So in theory, to the Banking Royal Commission, wanting to obtain, have your ducks lined up in a row, forecasted numbers, it's not as easy as what they're making out. The other point I'll note as well, which came up for a client of mine this week, was at the beginning when they were saying, you can contact your financiers and defer payments, be very careful with equipment finance. So we've had a number of clients who called up their equipment financiers, have organised deferrals of payments, and are now looking at refinancing property loans or whatever it might be, and the fact that they've deferred their payments on their equipment finance is causing a credit problem for them. So that's what we've found in practice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was on a forum a couple of weeks ago just talking about financing for things like photocopiers, and which can be an absolute minefield. And I have a colleague who was in that industry, and he said you'd be amazed at how many businesses have gone under by constantly refinancing for business equipment. So thank you for that. Now, I just want to touch back on the JobKeeper issue, because it almost seems too good to be true that the government's handing out this money, but I've always believed that there's no such thing as a free lunch. Is there a sting in the tail?
Oh, look, there could be. The ATO's response to the pandemic was pay now, check later. So what I mean by that is, if you are self-assessing your role, your business will automatically be accepted for JobKeeper and you will start getting eligible. So what we're expecting is that we will start seeing a raft of audits and reviews come through, where the ATO will now back for JobKeeper to determine. That's my biggest takeaway for anyone that either enrolled or is thinking about enrolling for JobKeeper, is make sure you've got your documentation in place that proves that you're eligible at the time of enrolment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I know that, if they're owed money, they'll come after you.
Yeah, they sure will. And not only that, Craig, but anyone who seems to be taking advantage of the JobKeeper payments, it is meant to be there to boost the economy, to keep people employed, to keep relationships going between employees and employers. Anyone seen taken advantage of, the government have come out very loud and clear and have said that they will come down hard on people who are taking advantage of that, give the payments they weren't entitled to as well.
Yeah, difficulties today. So I haven't had any questions come through on my text, and I won't put through to Georgia because I think we'll still get that garbled response. So with the questions, also with any ideas that you're coming up with in your own practices that have helped you just cut your costs a little bit. But I'm going to put the three of you on the spot right now, and you weren't expecting this because it wasn't suggested in our brief. But I just want one tip, because I've asked the attendees to give us just one tip. So give us the best one tip that you have that you would implement in your business, or you have implemented in your business, to reduce your costs during this pandemic. And I'm going to throw it to you, Ian, first.
There we go. Now I've got control of the technology. I thought Georgia had me bound down there, and we actually had a participant question, so I'm going to steal his thunder a bit, but it's pretty obvious technology available to you to achieve those things that you need to do. We're talking about refinance and finance in the commercial sector, and I'm hearing that loud and clear. There's some issues with people continuously doing it. With the home loans, isn't actually a free ride. Obviously they add the interest to the back end, and they may change the terms and conditions on you. But one of the things that advisors can do with their clients is certify them via Skype or Zoom or any of those other technological tools that you can connect with, simply by recording it. You record it, they show you their passport on the screen, and you've got, as far as most lenders are concerned, you can do it that way.
Leschen, our listeners can take back with them.
Okay,
It's going to help
I would
reduce their
speak to your
costs.
landlord. We're not using our offices. We're at home. Speak to your landlord. But I'm going to sneak in another one, and it's going to be the opposite. Focus on your marketing costs and see if you can pivot your business and reach out to your clients more and more.
Thank you. Great idea.
Yeah.
Teresa?
Sure, no problem. Well, mine really is cash is king. It might be painful, but please get your spreadsheets out and try and forecast out so that you can take action today to change those things. In particular, I'd be looking at your key large expense items and work out ways that you can reduce those expenses. So for example, in our business, our key expense was IT. So we actually spoke with our IT guys around that, and we are now restructuring the way we work on the cloud. It's going to save us $1,000 a month. That is a lot of money. And that was just by having a conversation with them that we may not otherwise have had. So cash is king. Know where you're going so that you can make changes now.
Thanks. Thank you very much. And guys, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. We're going to put up the information about the ladies' website for everyone. And if you want to contact the ladies and get access to that 13-week cash flow program, by all means do so. Just like Ian and the two ladies, I'm going to give you a tip and come back to what the ladies was talking about with the JobKeeper. Investigate it. If you get onto the government website and it's a little bit confusing, get your accountant or get your bookkeeper or talk to the ladies or Ian about it, and just find out how it works, because it's really valuable. For me, I bought a small book of business not so long ago, but we discovered that the previous advisor took a few shortcuts with the client's applications, and there was a bit of a non-disclosure issue. So one of the insurance companies cancelled the client's contract from inception, handed back all the premiums, and it cost me $11. And this JobKeeper system has certainly eased a little bit of the pain. So there's my tip to you: look at it and find out whether you can qualify. Now, in a fortnight's time, we've got a great speaker coming on as well. And last week we talked about some of the challenges that we're confronting. Well, the challenge that our speaker next week is confronted is beyond belief down in Victoria. And he was confronted with some major bushfires, and he lost his property through the process. So he's had over 3 decades on the front line fighting fires, Black Saturday, and these latest bushfires, and he'll be talking about what he has confronted over the last 3 decades and how it's affected him, his family, his colleagues, etc. So don't miss it. It's going to be a great one. Thank you once again, ladies. We'll finish up there. If you have any questions, guys, please put them through. Put your tips through. All the answers will be on the website. Contact details for the ladies will be on the website. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you in a fortnight.
Bye, everybody.